Hey, it's John Reed of JohnERP.com. Another evening video shoot, 4th of July weekend. I'm reviving my SAP Solutions video series. In this video, I want to talk about customer case studies. And I've had the opportunity to do a ton of customer case studies in the last couple of years. And it's really kind of changed my outlook on how I want to work in the industry, because what I've realized, I've done a ton of them for clients and many of them for Panaya, and it's been really fun to work with them on that. But the reason it's fun to do these case studies is because solutions really have to start with customer pain points. And as you're solving pain points for customers, you want to be able to document that. Now, of course, the ideal is that we have such rabidly passionate customers that they do all the work selling our products for us, or at least a lot of it. And we clearly see that in the case of, the Apples of the world, as one such example. I think some people are that way about Netflix. I am to a certain degree. It's not that easy to establish that type of passionate brand advocacy. But if we have a customer that's happy with our services, we do need to figure out how to document that, because companies want to understand what their peers are doing and what value they've gained. And you might think, well, if I do a case study, it's going to appear to be a branded piece of content, so peers won't take it seriously. My experience has been that that's not actually the case, because the thing is that when you agree as a customer to do a case study, you jump through whatever hoops legally, PR-wise, to approve that material. You're basically going on the record and saying, I derive value from this solution. That's a pretty big deal. So companies don't take that lightly. So when you have a company, especially if it's a fairly well-known name, but it doesn't have to be, you want to document that. You can never start too soon on that. I mean, you might only have, with your solution, just a few live customers. You still want to do a case study as soon as you can. I mean, yeah, putting a logo on your website of all your customers, a logo page, looks nice, but case studies take it to a different level. They're certainly an unbelievable sales tool. I mean, when you start to think about if you have 10, 20, 30 case studies in different geographies and industries, when your salespeople are talking to prospects, there's almost always a perfect case study they can send along. Of course, a case study might be part of a broader agreement you might strike with a customer to agree to represent you in a variety of ways, where they might serve as a reference customer, they might co-present once a year with you on topics at a conference, which is always a huge, huge win. But the case studies matter as well. Now, a couple of things to talk to you about a case study, just to kind of keep this in mind. You got to chart case studies out a little bit carefully, in that your contact might be gung-ho to do one, and it still might end up getting quashed by PR and legal or by their manager. So it's important to keep in mind that just because someone's excited to do a case study doesn't mean it's going to go through, even if that person has a pretty impressive job title. And obviously you want to get the highest person on the food chain that is familiar with your implementation involved in that case study. So typically what you're going to want to do is to get a little bit of feeling for that, and also allow for the possibility that sometimes the case study might not work out, and that's okay. But you're going to start with an interview, and you're going to, through the course of that interview, start to develop enough content to tell a story about how you succeeded for a particular company. And you can really structure this in a lot of different ways, but I'm not going to necessarily need to go through every step, because I think you can imagine fully well the process of evaluation and implementation and results and recommendations that a customer might go through in that process. But the one thing to really keep in mind is you're going to need some quantifiable benefits. And I was really struck by this recently, because I went to the Enterprise 2.0 show in Boston for the day and kind of crashed that show. And I went looking for case studies, and I had a hard time finding printed case study information. And the case studies I did find didn't have up front the kinds of quantifiable benefits I was looking for. By that I mean bullet points on the front page, a list of money saved, product time, duration reduced, whatever it is that your solution can provide. And quantification does not always have to be about money. I mean, obviously, if you saved a company $500,000 and they want to go on the record, that's pretty powerful stuff. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that. It might be that there's a productivity gain they can quantify, or if you combine that with a couple of quotes in the case study about whether stress reduction or end user empowerment, and then you figure out, well, how can I document that? Maybe they did a satisfaction survey. I mean, the thing to remember is that companies are just as eager to quantify the benefits of what they invest in as you are, because there's no blank checks in IT or business IT anymore. You have to be able to show that what you did had some value. So as you're developing these interviews and stories and starting to publish them, I think what you're going to find is that it's incredibly valuable as a sales tool, and also just in terms of credibility in the marketplace. So that's a nut you're going to want to have to crack. And once you develop a template and an approach, it gets a little bit easier to add to the mix. And what you're going to find is that it's one of the most powerful marketing tools you can have is the customer case study. So I wish you luck on yours, and if you have any follow-up questions on how to do that, just get in touch with me. Maybe I can make a follow-up video to keep you going. Good luck. This is John Reed, JohnnyERP.com.